Welcome, Ayubowan. So in today's lesson, we're going to have a look at Cambridge Book 9 and we're going to focus on speaking. Now, as you know, general students and academic students both, they get the same speaking component, right? So there's no difference in terms of speaking. So all of you can have a look at it, right? Now, I've done book 7 with you. I've done book 8 with you. So by now you should be getting the hang of it. So part 1, as you know, there are 3 parts, part 1, part 2 and part 3. So part 1 is where the test begins, with the examiner introducing him or herself and checking the candidate's identification. It then continues like an interview, and in the interview the examiner will ask the candidate about his or her work or hometown and other familiar topics. So let's have a look at the topic games. Now I'd like to focus on each question separately, so I put it up for you here, right? Alright, so moving on, do you play any games? Well, personally, I'm not a sportive person, so I don't really play any games and I don't have the time to play any games now, so I don't. How do people learn to play games in your country? So in Sri Lanka, we actually have places and trainers who train specific games. So for basketball, we've got basketball coaches, and we've got for athletics, athletic trainers, for cricket coaches. Apart from that, every school has their own physical education teacher, right? So they would train the students for different sports or different games. Do you think it's important for people to play games? Yes, I think it's really important because when you play games, it is a form of exercise and it helps you keep fit and healthy. Now, can you see when I'm answering these questions, do you? Yes, and why? Yes, because it is for this reason. So you have to get used to that pattern. Sometimes not all questions will you need to give a reason or an answer as to why you're saying that. But if it does require you, right, then always make sure that you give an answer. Don't wait till the examiner asks you why or why not. Straight away, give your answer together. So you are showing the examiner you understand the question and coherence and cohesion is there behind your answer. Okay? So we're looking at a part 2. Now, as you know, for part 2, you need to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. You can think about what you're going to say for 1 minute, and if you want, you can make notes. They give you a separate paper and a pencil. So once your 2 minutes is up, they will ask you, all right, remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please? So here is a question. Describe an open air or street market which you enjoyed visiting, where the market was or is, what the market sells or sold, how big the market is, and why you enjoyed visiting this market. Okay? So, describing about an open air market that I visited. This market was actually in Chiswick and it was in the UK. And this specific open air market sold different types of food and clothes. And a few sellers had a bit of other, handicrafts and some books as well. Now, the market was fairly big, I would say, right? And it had a variety of different types of food. It was Mexican, Indonesian, Lebanese, Indian, Chinese, Thai. So variety of types of food, and then clothes as well. So this was during summertime. So there were a lot of summer clothes and kind of spring clothes on sale. Some of it were actually used clothes that they were selling for reuse, and some of the sellers had new clothes. Then I saw another few sellers who had books to sell. So they were all used books, and there was no actually children's books, there were only adult books. Apart from that, there were a few sellers who were selling some handicrafts, little items that were made from seashells and wood and other used items. Why I enjoyed visiting this market was I'd never seen, such an open air market before. So I was really interested in going and seeing, what was really there? What did they actually sell? And I did really enjoy that experience because you could actually bargain and, they were dressed in also different traditional kind of clothes. So I felt that it was a really nice, different experience. All right, so moving on, now we're going to have a look at part 3 questions, okay? So you can see it's shopping at markets and shopping in general. Let's have a look at the questions one by one, okay? Shopping in markets. Do people in your country enjoy going to open-air markets that sell things like food or clothes or old objects? Which type of market is more popular? Well, I think in Sri Lanka we do have the open-air markets and they sell food like veggie, fruit. Some open-air markets like down at theatre, they also sell clothes and other objects like plants, handicrafts and things like that. It is a kind of popular market in Sri Lanka. I wouldn't say it's not popular. I would say it's quite popular in Sri Lanka because people like to go and bargain and see different types of food. When you go to these open-air markets, you can find some fruit and veggie that we always don't find in the supermarket. And you can bargain. So lots of people like going to open-air markets in Sri Lanka. Do you think markets are more suitable places for selling certain types of things? Which ones? Why do you think this is? Fresh produce like veggie and fruit they could sell. But if you're looking at some food items like bakery products and things like that, might be difficult to keep it in an open-air market and sell it as fresh as it would be elsewhere in a shop. So I think some items you can't, but most of the items you can. But tires and furniture and things like that, I would feel it's not possible. Do you think young people feel the same about shopping at markets as older people? I don't think they feel as comfortable as older people and they don't feel the same way. The reason is because younger people are more trendy and they love to go shopping to big supermarkets or, branded shops because they feel they're a part of society and they want to be a part of their groups and they want to feel that belongingness. Apart from that, younger people have a lot of self-esteem and they want to be fashionable. So I think they would not prefer it as older people would. Let's talk about shopping in general. What do you think are the advantages of buying things from shops rather than markets? Now, I think when you buy things from shops, you have an expiry date, you have people who you could go and ask them, you buy something and it's expired or it's not up to the quality. There's someone you can go back to and talk the store manager. But in a market, if it's not good, the chances are the same seller might be there, might not be there. So you can't really hold anyone responsible. And then when it comes to prices and discounts, sometimes supermarkets offer you more discounts than the market. And I feel some goods are actually fresh and it's in terms of quality, it's in higher quality than the products you find in markets. How does advertising influence what people choose to buy? Is this true for everyone? It depends on the age group. Advertising does play an important role in people's minds. Now, for an example, if you take products like, the soap or, the washing powder, the jingle that we always heard from a very small age would be sunlight. So you kind of hear that, right? And the jingle goes into your head so much. Personally, myself, I keep on buying the same product. because it's gone into my head so much, right? So certain products, they do have an effect on the consumer or the buyer. Whereas I don't think it's true for everyone. Now, if you take my parents, who are probably about 80 years old, they go with different things. I mean, they go for value for money, they don't go for brand, they go for things which are more healthier, organic. So it depends on the age group. I don't think it is the same for everyone. Do you think that any recent changes in the way people live have affected general shopping habits? Why is this? I think it has affected because the people's lifestyles have changed. People tend to have busy lifestyles and they want things to be much faster and quicker. So I feel that their shopping habits have also changed. They don't want to spend a lot of time. They go to the supermarket, they pick out the groceries that they need quick, and they go back home because they're so busy, right? So I don't see a lot of people going to open markets and going, and this is good, this is good. It depends. So I think it has changed because of their busy schedule and change in lifestyle. All right, so we're moving into test 2, right? Same structure, part 1, part 2, part 3. Let's have a look at part 1 questions. So let's have a look at giving gifts. When do people give gifts or presents in your country? So people give gifts or presents when it's a special occasion, maybe for your birthday, when you deliver a new baby, a housewarming, anniversary, getting a new job, farewell, okay, engagement parties. So it could be for different occasions. Do you ever take a gift when you visit someone in their home? Yes, it's kind of like a Sri Lankan tradition. If we walk into someone's house, we always take them a gift, at least a tin of biscuits or a packet of biscuits. We do take them something. When did you last receive a gift? So I received a gift about, say, 2 months ago. So my husband has this habit of, surprising me with a bouquet of flowers and maybe a chocolate, nothing big, but time to time he gives me these little gifts and, maybe chocolate, maybe, piece of jewelry, not gold always, okay, so the imitation ones, or sometimes, maybe a top. So the last gift I received was about 2 months ago, and it was a chocolate and a bouquet of flowers. Do you enjoy looking for gifts for people? I do actually. And when I select gifts, I like to give things which are important for them or that will be useful. So I just don't go and pick, gift vouchers. I go and I know the person. So I say, oh, she would like things like this, the kids would like things like this. So I pick out gifts that would be useful for them. So moving on into part 2, now I'd like you to do this on your own, okay? Because we've done a few. Now, what is this about? Describe something you did that was new or exciting. So prep for 1 minute and speak for 1 to 2 minutes. What should you talk about? Something you did that was new or even exciting. What you did, where and when you did it, whom you shared the activity with, explain why this activity was new or exciting. Okay? So please try it on your own and send it over to me so that I could have a look at it. Okay? And we've got part 3 questions about doing new things and learning new things. Right? Let's have a look at the questions one by one. Why do you think some people like doing new things? I think some people by nature like being innovative and creative, and they love to try to do new things. What problems can people have when they try new activities for the first time? Sometimes when you try things for the first time, not as if everything will work out well for the first time. So there could be some parts where you don't succeed, and that would bring you some kind of disappointment. Do you think it's best to do new things on your own or with other people? It depends. Sometimes you could do some activities on your own, but sometimes you could also have a group of people, get them involved and try something which is new. So depending on your activity, it could be either individual or a group activity. Let's talk about learning new things. What kinds of things do children learn to do when they're very young? How important are these things? I think when they're very young, when they're early learners, learning something is very important. They learn to walk, they learn to talk, they learn to respect others, right? They learn the difference between doing something good and doing something bad, okay? They learn as to what is a truth, what is a lie. So they learn so many skills working with others, right? And when someone says no, not to do it, right? They learn to manage their anger. So they learn to communicate with others. So lots of things, and I think they're really important, especially when they're early learners or early young learners. When they're really small, maybe around 3, 4, very important. Do you think children and adults learn to do new things the same way? How is their learning style different? Personally, I don't think they learn the same way, right? I think they learn to do different things in different ways. As adults, we know and we try to learn things, right? But sometimes kids unknowingly learn how to do new things, right? And their learning styles could be different. We could use auditory, visual, or even kinesthetic, whereas kids, I think, learn to do things mostly through the kinesthetic method. Some people say that it is more important to be able to learn new things now than in the past. Do you agree or disagree with that? Why? I think now it's important because the world is changing rapidly. Technology is evolving every day, every second. So if you don't change, you will die, right? And change is needed. So being able to learn new things is really important for that change. And I think more than in the past, now it has become quite an important factor. Right? So I do agree that learning new things now is more important than it was in the past. All right, so we're moving on to test 3, right? And as you know, we've got part 1, part 2, and part 3. So let's have a look at the questions for part 1. We're looking at telephoning. Okay, telephoning, no, telephoning. Telephoning, okay? Right, so let's have a look at the questions individually. How often do you make telephone calls? Right, so I think I make telephone calls on a daily basis, right? Depending on, I call people when they call me, and sometimes I need to call people to get certain things done. So I use the phone often, in the sense, on a daily basis. Who do you spend the most time talking to on the telephone? I think I spend a lot of time talking to my dad sometimes. Not always, it depends. Sometimes my friends, sometimes my dad, sometimes my husband. That would depend. When do you think you'll next make a telephone call? I think I'll make a telephone call in about half an hour's time because I need to check up on a certain matter. Do you sometimes prefer to send text messages instead of telephoning? Definitely. If I'm doing a lesson or I'm in a class or if I'm busy with the kids, I'd rather prefer to send a text message rather than telephoning or answering the call. So, part 2. As you know, You will need to speak for 1 to 2 minutes, and you will have 1 minute to prepare about what you're going to say. Once your 1 minute is up, the examiner would tell you, all right, remember, you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please? So, what is your topic? Describe a journey by car, plane, or boat that you remember well. Where you went, how you traveled, why you made the journey, and explain why you remember this journey so well. Okay? So I'd like to talk about a journey that I went probably a few months ago. And this was to the UK. And I went via the plane. Okay? And why I made this journey was my cousins were meeting up in the UK. We had a wedding. So all of us had to kind of go for that wedding, to participate in the wedding. So I had to make this journey. Now, why I remember this journey so well was this was the first time my 2 little ones made a trip via the plane. So they had never been on a plane before, and that was the first time they took the plane as a mode of travel, and they were super excited, right? But the youngest one was kind of a little cranky, and she was crying halfway through the journey, which was quite stressful. But I also liked the fact that my second one and my first one, both of them really enjoyed, and they tagged along well, and they enjoyed that journey. And, you know, they were eating and they were looking outside through the window, and they were asking me so many questions. So I felt that, you know, that experience, giving that experience was fun. And then when we stepped into the UK, they were even more excited to see different things, right? So I remember this journey so well because of the experience that all of them had. And I'd never forget this because that was their first trip. Right, so moving on to part 3. Now you'll have to talk about reasons for daily travel, okay? And you also have to talk about benefits of international travel. So let's have a look at the questions, right? Why do people need to travel every day? So it could be for different reasons, maybe for business purposes, maybe to earn money for work, maybe for schooling. What problems can people have when they are on their daily journey, for example, to work or school? Problems in the sense public transportation can be really unreliable, and it could be too crowded, and they could lose things on their way. So I think these are some of the problems that could come up. Some people say that daily journeys like this will not be so common in the future. I personally agree with this because I think with time people will be working from home, everything will be digitalized, and I don't see why people would actually travel to their workplace physically to be in a location. So I think it would reduce a lot. And even now I see people doing a lot of online shopping, so traveling has reduced quite a lot. Benefits of international travel. What do you think people learn from traveling to other countries? I think people learn different aspects about culture, verbal communication, non-verbal communication, different tastes, the food, the language, how they dress, right? About festivals, about how people work, different work practices, ethics, right? So I think they learn a lot. Can travel make a positive difference to the economy of a country? Yes, it could. You could get in more tourists. If you provide them a good experience, your economy could have a boost. Explain more, right? I'm just giving you some hints, so you have to start explaining more. Do you think a society can benefit if its members have experience of traveling to other countries? I would say so, because they can share their experience, right? If we see how other people do things, maybe we could change the way we do our things, and that would help us to gain more income sometimes. Sometimes it would help us to see things in a different way, see through a different set of glasses, you know. So I feel yes, it is good. Finally, we are coming to test 4. All right, so as you know, we've got part 1, part 2, and part 3, okay? So part 1, we have to talk about bicycles. How popular are bicycles in your hometown? My hometown where I live is quite commercialized, so not many people use bicycles, but on and off I see them using bicycles, maybe for for a reason, maybe as a reason for exercise. How often do you ride a bicycle? Me, myself, I can't ride bicycles, unfortunately. Do you think that bicycles are suitable for all ages? Yes, I think, and it helps you keep fit and healthy. What are the advantages of a bicycle compared to a car? It helps you in terms of keeping fit and healthy, definitely. Less hassle of traffic, right? Environmentally friendly, and you could have a look around and go at your own pace, which I feel is good. So here is part 2, and I'd like you to do it on your own, okay? Describe a person who has done a lot of work to help people. Who this person is, where this person lives, what he or she has done, and how you know about this person. Prepare for 1 minute, speak for 1 to 2 minutes, all right? Then we have the two-way discussion again. I'm going to tell you the questions, which is here. I'd like you to answer these questions because I've done a lot with you now. Helping other people in the community. So what are some of the ways people can help others in the community? And which one do you think is most important? Why do you think some people like to help other people? Okay. Some people say that people help others in the community more now than in the past. Do you agree or disagree? So personally, I would disagree. What about you? Talking about community services, what types of services such as libraries or health centers are available to people who live in your area? Good question. In Sri Lanka, right? And do you think there are enough for them? Which groups of people generally need the most support in the community? Do you think it's the elder, the younger, or the sick people, right? So which group do you think it is? Last question. Who do you think should pay for the services that are available to the people in the community? Should it be the government? Should it be the individual? So I always like to say the free rider problem is there, so I think both parties should equally support in it. What do you think? All right, so I think with that, we have come to the end of the lesson, okay? And this was focusing on part 1, 2, and 3, and we had a look at all 4 tests. And the last test, I gave you to do it on your own so that you start thinking, okay? If I go to tell everything, there's no way you're going to try anything on your own, right? So with that, we come to the end of book 9, which was speaking topics for test 1, 2, and 3, and 4.